Hello, and welcome back to Tiny Artist TV. So, last month I started Fan Art Fridays, and I only ended up doing one just because of time constraints on my end, but I do want to continue that. So, this Friday, I found this little 6-character fan art prompt over on Twitter, and I did repost it to my Twitter page and also on my Facebook page, just to see what kind of characters people would suggest. I did only end up getting one character over on Twitter. Most of my characters are going to be coming from Facebook, but this is the prompt. And yeah, so I left it up for a few days just to see what kind of characters people would give me. So let's see what we got. So here are the characters that I've compiled from over on Facebook and Twitter. Most of them are pretty much pop culture icons at this point. If you don't recognize the characters, the first one is Jasmine from, I think it's Series 1 of Pokemon, maybe Series 2. Of course, we've got Moana, SpongeBob, the most recent pop culture icon, Joe the Tiger King. Thank you, Tess. And we have the Kool-Aid Man, Skeletor, the Brave Little Toaster, and Garfield. So I'm going to be using a random dice roller just over from on Google, and we're going to see which ones get drawn, because obviously there's more than 6 here, so 2 of these are not going to be ending up in today's video. So yeah, let's leave it up to chance and see what we get. So our first one is going to be the Brave Little Toaster, so I'm just going to put a little circle around him. Next one is the toaster again. Okay. Let's see. We got Joe the Tiger King. Oh no! Trying to get it together, guys. I'm sorry. Okay. Number 1. And I'm sorry I keep minimizing. It's just because I have these on 2 different windows, so we're just gonna have to bear with it. Number 5. Okay, I need 2 more. I already did number 4. Number 2, awesome. I was really hoping that I got Moana because I have a really cool design idea in mind. And number 2 again. Come on, 6. Yes! Okay, so we're going to be doing Jasmine, Moana, Joe the Tiger King, Kool-Aid Man, Skeletor, and Brave Little Toaster. So I will be transforming these characters into Sailor Moon type heroes and villains. So you guys are in for a treat today. I feel like there may be a little bit of an obvious divide between who's going to end up being a hero and who's going to end up being a villain. Of course, Skeletor and Joe are going to be villains, but I'm also going to be doing Jasmine as a villain, so that leaves the Kool-Aid Man, the Toaster, and Moana as our Sailor Moon heroes. I did do all of the preliminary sketches off camera just because that's, you know, you're gonna see everything in line art anyway, but in hindsight I probably should have done these on 6 different pieces of paper instead of on one big piece of paper. I was just trying to save space, and also wanted to see what they looked like all together, but drawing this high up is kind of awkward. As you can see, I have to extend my arm over half of the paper just to get to the first few sketches here. But we're starting off with, of course, Jasmine from Pokemon, and when I was looking at reference images of her, I found the perfect reference for a villain pose, and it's her trainer card. Now, her character design already kind of lends itself to being a villain, and she really reminded me of Black Lady. And if you're not really familiar with the Sailor Moon series, first off, why are you watching this video? Second off, Dark Lady is basically Chibi Moon turned evil when she falls under the spell of the character named Wise Man, and she looks a lot like this, quite honestly. So I kind of went with that vibe and just did a lot of like manga cross-hatching, and these are kind of supposed to be in a traditional manga-esque or graphic novel type style as well. Next up is Moana. Now, originally I had wanted to do her in the Sailor Mercury pose because Moana has, a large association with the ocean, but I eventually ended up giving the Sailor Mercury pose to a different character, and you'll see that later. So I decided to model her after kind of a cross between Sailor Moon and Sailor Neptune, still with a lot of the water effects. Next, we have Joe the Tiger King. Now, I couldn't find a good reference for the type of demon type villain that I was referencing from the Sailor Moon series, but if you've watched the series or are familiar with the villains, they have this they're very tall and lanky and gaunt, and that's definitely what I was going for here. I figured Joe would be something like a circus or a jungle type demon. And the design kind of explains itself. I'm not super satisfied with the way the tigers turned out. The one in the background ends up being fine, but the one in front is just kind of he's there, you can tell it's a tiger, but I definitely could have done a little bit better. So to start off, our second set is the Kool-Aid Man, and as you can see, I did give the Kool-Aid Man the Mercury pose. I figured that this would be better because I wanted to do something with, again, the water, or I guess the Kool-Aid splashing around, and this was the best way to do that. This design definitely ended up being a lot simpler than the rest of my designs just because the Kool-Aid Man is already a pretty simple character and I didn't really have a lot to work with, so I did the best I could with what I had. And actually, as far as sketching goes, I saved Kool-Aid Man for last because I just had no idea what to do with this character. All the other ones very easily translatable into Sailor Moon type heroes and villains, but this one was just kind of what? So I figured something out, like I said, and give him the Sailor Mercury, oh my gosh, Sailor Mercury pose, and just add some hatching and some background, and it looks pretty cute, I think. If I had to pick a favorite out of this batch of characters, I would probably say the middle row wins it. with Skeletor being my favorite villain for this batch, Jasmine being a close second, and Moana being my favorite hero design. But let's be honest here, Skeletor already kind of looks like a Sailor Moon villain. I know that it's like peak 80s character design, but if you just look at the repertoire of Sailor Moon villains and just Skeletor in general, basically all I did was end up gender bending Skeletor to look more like Queen Beryl, sitting on her throne. And yeah, that's pretty much all I did for this one, and I really like the way this turned out. It just looks like a fun, dark Saturday morning cartoon villain. This one did present a little bit of a design challenge at first, just because most of the big name Sailor Moon baddies are like tall women in long dresses and long hair, and of course Skeletor is none of that. So that's why, again, I chose to kind of translate his design into Queen Beryl type design. And last but not least, we have the brave little toaster cosplaying as Tuxedo Mask. Now, I could have very easily just drawn the toaster as a companion type character, kind of like Luna or Artemis, or the cat head that Chibi Usa has, but I decided to turn him into a Gajinka type character, and I figured because of the brave little toaster's personality type and the fact that he does wear something of a cape, he turns the dish rag into a cape at one point during the movie, and I just thought that was a perfect translation into a Tuxedo Mask type design. So Tuxedo Mask typically has a cane, but of course I gave him an electrical cord lasso because he's a toaster, so he's got an electrical cord, and instead of a rose, I gave him a whisk. So here is my brave little toaster Sailor Moon fan art design. So here we are at the end of today's video. Here are our 6 fan designs, Sailor Moon style, and I definitely enjoyed making these characters. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, drop a comment down below of a character and a style you would like to see drawn, and if I get enough comments like that, maybe I'll get around to making a video. In the meantime, I'll see you guys next time. Have a weird day.